Whip there. Hello, welcome back to another video. I'm back. Well, we'll see. I have a video. So, for those of you who are new, welcome to the chaos. I post whenever I feel like it. For those of you who are coming back, welcome back and thank you for joining me again. I currently have a rainbow fluffy book in my hands because in here holds some recommendations for mine and Becca's Royal Readathon. So for those of you who don't know, me and Becca are hosting a readathon in May, another instalment of the Royal Readathon. This month, or next month should I say, is Couples Edition. I will leave a link in the description below to the full announcement video. I will also leave a link down below to Becca's recommendations and the Royal Readathon Twitter. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask the Royal Readathon Twitter and we will respond to you. Without further ado, we're going to get straight into it because I have found 5 books for each of the prompts and there are 8 prompts, so there's a fair few amount of books to go through. Hopefully I can get through them all quite quickly so that I don't hold you for too long. We're just going to dive straight in to the recommendations. So the first prompt is Mulan and Shang, read a book with LGBTQ plus rep, and I have 5 books for just that, and I've neatly stacked them. You can't see them. Ooh. Now you are at a different angle because you fell. We're gonna try starting that again because that happened. My skirt got caught on the cable and you came forward. So the first prompt is Mulan and Shang, read a book with LGBTQ plus representation. And I have 5 books here. The first one is Birthday by Meredith Russo. This is a trans love story, and it's a love story 18 years in the making, and it's such a sweet story, and it's quite hard to read in places. Like, the things that the main characters go through is quite harrowing at times, but it has a good ending, and I think it's just a great love story. So yeah, good book, that one. I love the edges. Next up is actually one of my favourite books this year so far, and that is House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. It is an urban fantasy that follows a government worker, an orphanage, and it is just so cute. It makes me laugh. This would work for the Anna and Kristoff, a book that makes you laugh. It could also work for that. It's just a really cute story. I love it. I don't know what else to say without spoiling it. Next up is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. Any of Cassandra Clare's books, I believe, would work. Red Scrolls of Magic is another Cassandra Clare book, based on Magnus Bane and Alec Lightwood. So there's that. But any of Cassandra Clare's would work for LGBTQ rep. She has some really good rep in there. This would also work for adventure. They go on adventures. So I think this would work for quite a few of them. It also does make me laugh. So yes, Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. Then we have One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. This is a sci-fi contemporary romance, so it is a contemporary but with a sci-fi twist, and I absolutely love it. It's sapphic and it has my heart. It's honestly one of the cutest little love stories ever, and it just It's got one of those love stories that could quite honestly be realistic if it wasn't the sci-fi aspect of it. But honestly, I fell in love with Jane. Like, Jane is just my kind of gal, and it honestly, I kind of want to read it again. I kind of want to do a reread. Oh, such a good book. Next up is another Casey McQuiston book, and that is Red, White and Royal Blue. This is a story about a prince and the president's son, and honestly, this is the book that got me into Casey McQuiston, and I love Casey's writing, as you can tell, because 2 of the books are on my recommendations, but this is one that I think everyone needs to read. This would also work for enemies to lovers. There is also a party in it. It does make me laugh. So there's quite a few prompts that this would work for, so if you need help trying to fit this in, give me a call, because I think everyone should read this book. So this is my little stack of recommendations for LGBTQ+ rep. I tried to kind of give people both contemporaries, fantasies, but it kind of ended up being more contemporaries, which is fine. So you've changed again because you fell over again. I think I've sorted out the problem, and I hope this works this time. The next prompt is Eric and Ariel, which is read a book with a mermaid or a sailor. So, first book I have even is The Mermaid by Christina Henry. This is, it's not a Little Mermaid retelling, I can tell you that. It's about P.T. Barnum and his mermaid. So it's, Christina Henry is, I would class her as a horror writer, but I think this is a book, it's quite a sad and emotional book. It made me cry like every other chapter, but it is a good book. I will give her that. It is a really, really good book. I really did enjoy it, but this is definitely a more emotional book, an adult book as well. It can get quite graphic in places, so just bear that in mind, but this is a really, really good book. Next up we have House of Salt and Sorrow by Erin A. Craig. This is actually 12 Dancing Princesses retelling, and I think it's a really good book. It's got sailors in it, hence why it fits in this prompt, and it is a horror. It's like a psychological thriller, I think it's classed as, but it's a YA, so I class it as a YA anyway, so it doesn't get too graphic, and I'm not a particular big one on horrors, but I really did enjoy this book. I gave it 4 stars. It's a really, really good book. So yes, good book. Next up we have a middle grade, and that is The Secret Deep. Now I don't want to say too much about why this book fits, because it is kind of a spoiler, but it does have one of these prompts, one of the things that it kind of works. But yes, so it's like a mystery YA, mystery middle grade even. Such a good book. I think it was the first YA that I actually truly loved, so good little book there. Next up we have Daughter of the Pirate King. Pirates count as sailors. So this is by Trisha Levenseller, and Trisha Levenseller is an amazing author, and I can't wait to read more of her books. So this works. The sequel would also work for this as well. It's clues in the name, Daughter of the Pirate King. It's about the daughter of the Pirate King and her journey This could also work for adventure because she goes on an adventure. It's kind of a dark adventure, but it's an adventure either way. So that would work as well. Then the 5th book I have for this is Caraval. So a lot of you might be a little bit like, how has Caraval made this? Julian, when we first meet him, is a sailor. We are introduced to him as a sailor. So he is a sailor, and that is how they go to Caraval, is through Julian's boat, as Julian is a sailor and a traveller. So it works for that prompt. It will also, Caraval, the first book, would count towards ball or party because there is a party at the end of this book. It makes me laugh. Don't know if it would make you laugh. It makes me laugh. I don't think of what else because I think everyone needs to read this book. Trying to think of what else would fit. You could stretching enemies to lovers because Julian and Scarlet really don't like each other. So you could do a little bit of that. Forced proximity, they're forced to share a bed. There is a one bed trope in here. So it could work for forced proximity as well. So yeah, Caraval, the first book in the Caraval trilogy. They are the 5 books for mermaids and sailors or pirates. There is definitely running like blue theme going on for this prompt, but hey. The next prompt is Belle and the Beast, or Belle and Adam, which is a book with forced proximity. Now, the first one, I'm just going to get out of the way. Ice Planet Barbarians. This is, disclaimer, this is an 18+ smutty romance. Very adult based, but they are forced, or she's forced to share a cabin with him in very close quarters. So very much some forced proximity there. The next book, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, is the Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight. This book is a little cute love story. It's a YA love story, and they are 2 characters are forced to stay on a plane together. They are sat next to each other in I cannot speak. In forced proximity to each other. I think this is just a really cute love story. It's got a very ambiguous end, but it's not really an ambiguous end. It feels it satisfies what you're doing. Like, it satisfies the ending, but it's very ambiguous as to what the characters actually end up doing. It's 215 pages, really short, really quick, easy read. I think I read this in about 3 hours. I'm a slow reader, but yeah, I don't think it took me more than 3 hours to read. Really cute little love story. Definitely pick it up. The next book is A Dance with the Fae Prince. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Now, there's a theme for the last 3 books. This is I think it's like a new adult fantasy romance, Beauty and the Beast retelling, but the Beauty and the Beast part is like, I want to say like the first third of the book. The rest of the book is like a brand new story. This is the second in the Married to Magic series, but you can read this as a standalone. They are completely different characters to the other book, which is actually on this recommendation list too. So definitely give this a go if you are wanting a really good read. I just love this cover. Like, it's just gorgeous. Can't wait for her next book. So yes, this would also work for enemies to lovers. This would also work for ball or party. this would also work for, did it make me laugh? I think it made me laugh, but it does work for adventure as well. So there's a few things that this would work for. The next book, again, surprise, surprise, Beauty and the Beast retelling, A Curse of Dark and Lonely. So this book is just a Beauty and the Beast retelling by Bridget Kemmerer, and obviously Beauty and the Beast retellings, forced proximity, they're forced to share a house together. She does not want to, he doesn't particularly want to either, but they fall in love. Surprise! Or do they? So yes, such a good book, and I highly recommend people picking it up. There's so many twists and turns in this story. The trilogy is incredible. Only book 1 would work for forced proximity. The other ones would not, especially the second one, because the second one's following 2 different characters. But this first book, forced proximity, you could say enemies to lovers as well. I wouldn't say adventure, but forced proximity and enemies to lovers this would work for as well. Last but not least, it's another Beauty and the Beast retelling. I have a lot of Beauty and the Beast retellings, okay? I haven't read like a lot of other books. With forced proximity, I need to broaden my horizon a little bit with forced proximities. If anyone has any sort of like 1 bed, 1 room type romances, let me know, because I need to read more of them. But yes, Court of Thorn and Roses is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. This would also work, again, enemies to lovers. It would also work for, but it made me laugh. It made me laugh. There are bits in here that were funny. So yeah, it's a good book. Here's 4 physical books, and the 5th book I'll put here, of books with forced proximity. You can't really see A Curse of Dark and Lonely in there. It's too shiny. Who knew? Next up is Flynn and Rapunzel, read a book with adventure. Now, disclaimer, I only managed to find 4 books. It's a hard one, okay? I don't read a lot of books with adventures. We're just gonna start, okay? So the first book is Starfell, Willow, Moss and the Lost Days. This is book 1 in the Willow Moss series. I don't know how many books it's meant to be, but any book in the Starfell series would work. Willow Moss goes on adventures to save the day. This is a cute little middle grade. I am in love with the cat. Well, it's not a cat, is it? I've forgotten what he is now. Oh. 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 Oswin's his name, and yeah, he's a cute little cat that's not a cat. He explodes. So yes, Willow Moss, any of Willow Moss stories. Next up we have Sleigh by Kim Curran. This I think needs more hype. It's such a really good book. It's on the back it says boys as swoon worthy as One Direction, saving them all from evil, sign me up. And that's what it is. It's a boy band that kills demons. And there is a girl who ends up going on an adventure with them. Her name is Millie, and I think this book needs so much more love. The second book, Sleigh on Tour, I don't think would count for adventure because she's already part of the team, and they go off to Japan. So yes, I think Sleigh needs more love. I think adventure is the only one that this would work for. It did make me laugh though. There are some really good funny parts in here. A lot of the books make me laugh. A book that didn't make me laugh was Soundless by Rochelle Mead. I'm currently doing a Rochelle Mead read along for the Vampire Academy and the Bloodline series, and I don't think this book gets as much love as her Vampire Academy series, but this book, such a good book. The descriptions that she has in here are incredible. It's about a village who can't hear, and one day a girl wakes up from the village and she can suddenly hear, and it's about her finding a way to help the village that is crumbling apart, and her adventure with a guy. So there's a guy involved with a little bit of romance, but this book is just such a good book and such an underrated book. So this is Sadness by Rochelle Mead, a book with adventure. Next up we have Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. So this is a Mulan retelling, and you might think, but Olivia, a Mulan retelling isn't an adventure. You're right, but the Mulan retelling part is like that much. Oh no, it might be like that much. It's very little part of the book, and actually the second half of the book is all adventure. She goes on an adventure with a guy who I'm not going to say because, you know, this could also be classed as a little bit of enemies to lovers, as well as it could also be classed as forced proximity because they're forced to share a tent, I believe. They're definitely forced into proximity at some point. So yes, Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. Adventure. So there are my 4 adventure books. I wish I had a 5th, but I can't think of a 5th. Yeah, I can't think of a 5th. To have 4 instead. I'm sorry. The next prompt is probably my favourite prompt, and that is Diana Naveen, Enemies to Lovers. I have 5 books. I'm not gonna lie, I did struggle with this one a little bit. I didn't realise I love enemies to lovers trope. I think it's one of the best tropes to ever exist. But trying to find 5 books was a little bit more difficult than I expected. But I got there. I got there in the end. And the first one is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This enemies to lovers is just an amazing enemies to lovers. Their love story does go through all 3 books, so you can definitely read all 3 books as enemies to lovers. It's just such a good book. So Cruel Prince, Enemies to Lovers. This could also work for Ball and Party. This could also work for... yeah, I think it just could work for mermaids. There is talk of sea creatures in here, which could be classed as mermaids. I definitely feel like that is something. And actually, the second book, part of it is held underwater, which could class as mermaids. So yes, but the main one is enemies to lovers. I feel like this prompt would fit the best. Next up, we have Defy the Night by Bridget Camera. This is this is definitely a little bit of enemies to lovers. There are twists and turns in here that you do not see coming, and I think everyone should read Defy the Night. It's actually a Robin Hood retelling, but there is a little bit of enemies to lovers in it as well. So the next book is Deal with the Elf King by Elise Crave. This is book 1 in the Married to Magic series. Again, I'm going to class it as new adult. This is actually, I think this is a Hades and Persephone retelling. Hades and Persephone with a little bit of Beauty and the Beast wrapped in there. But basically a woman is forced to marry the Elf King, and basically crazy stuff ensues. So I don't want to talk too much about it because it might give away the plot, but yes, really good book. This is actually my favourite out of the 2 in the Married to Magic series. This one was 5-star, the other one was 4-star. So really good enemies to lovers. There is also a party in it, I believe, so it could work for ball or party. I think that's the only other one it would work for though, so yeah, still with the Elf King. Next up we have Serpent and Dove. This is forced marriage and it's amazing. They hate each other. So not only do they hate each other, it's enemies to lovers. There's also forced proximity, so it would work for forced proximity as well. It made me laugh. I'm pretty sure there's a party. No, there isn't a party. There is a show, but it's not a party. So yes, I think the synopsis sort of just, yeah. It's just, I'm trying to find the blurb. There we go. So yeah, I think everyone should, I need to reread this so that I could read the others in the series, because I've not read the others in the series and I really need to. And then last but not least, we have Crescent City. Did you not think I couldn't fit this on here? This is Crescent City by Sarah J Maas. It's got enemies to lovers in it, basically. But about this book, this actually fits all 8 prompts. There is trying to think of like the first prompts now. So there is LGBTQ plus rep in here. There are mermaids in here. There is forced proximity in here. There is a little bit of adventure in here. There are enemies to lovers. There is a party in here. And it makes me laugh. This fits all of the prompts. So if you want a one book that's one and done, Crescent City, everyone should just read Crescent City for all 8 prompts. So yes. Such a good book. I was actually told this by, I can't remember her name. Oh no, I feel so really bad. I'll put her name up here. She was the one who actually cottoned on, I'm on 20% battery, cottoned on to this being the full 8 prompts. But you know, it works for all 8. It works for all 8. The next prompt is Cinderella and Prince Charming read a book with a ball or a party. So we're going to do that. The first one is Heartstopper Volume 1 by Alice Oseman. There is a birthday party. There's 2 birthday parties in this actually. One's a small little bowling party and the other one is a full birthday party in terms of like loud music and like, yeah. So yes, Volume 1, unfortunately only Volume 1 works, but this would also work for LGBTQ+. It also works for laughing, maybe laugh, maybe giggle a little bit. So yes, LGBTQ birthday parties even. Parties. The next one is The Selection by Kira Cass. This trilogy is amazing, and I am going to say it's a trilogy because the other 2 books were not as great as the first 3, but we don't talk about those. But in the Selection series, I'm pretty sure there's a ball or a party in every single book. So any of the Selection series would work for it. I just picked up the first because it's the first in the series. This is a... I'm trying to think of what else it would work for. I think it is just the ball or party. I don't think it would work for anything else. But really, really good book. Next up, we have The Shadows Between Us by Tricia Levenseller. Obviously, I mentioned Daughter of the Pirate King earlier on. This is a completely different series, and it's actually a standalone book. This is probably one of my favourite books. I'm currently rereading it. It has a party, well, it has a ball in it. And yeah, it's enemies to lovers. It makes me laugh in places. It doesn't have any forced proximity. What else does it have? Enemies to lovers. Ball party. I think they're the only ones. Enemies to lovers and balls and parties. So that is The Shadows Between Us. Next up, we have Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. This is a amazing book, and it's actually kind of like a prequel to Spin the Dawn. You don't have to have read Spin the Dawn to understand Six Crimson Cranes, and you don't have to have read Six Crimson Cranes to understand Spin the Dawn. They are two completely different books and series, but I think I personally got more out of this having read Spin the Dawn first, because there's a character that comes into it right at the end. So you're like, no way. So yes, Six Crimson Cranes, there is a party. There is an engagement party, like, as soon as you open the book. And then finally, we have Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This is a Cinderella retelling. It's a very loose Cinderella retelling, but there is a ball in it. So it works. Disclaimer, only read this if you've read Caraval. If you don't plan on reading Caraval, have no interest in reading Caraval, read Once Upon a Broken Heart, but you will be spoiled as to where the characters end up in this book. Like in the Caraval trilogy, if you read this book before the Caraval trilogy, you don't need to have read Caraval to understand what's going on in the world. She does a really good job of explaining what's happened, but it does spoil what's happened in Caraval. So if you plan on reading Caraval, don't read Once Upon a Broken Heart first. Read Caraval first and then come back to this. But if you have read Caraval and you haven't pick this up. Everyone needs to read this. It's a good book. And that is my 5 little bookies for Cinderella's prompt. Cinderella and Prince Charming. And the last prompt is Anna and Christoph read a book that makes you laugh. Now obviously this prompt is a little bit difficult, but here are 5 books that made me laugh personally, and hopefully they make you laugh if you pick them up. The first one is Mayday by Josie Jeffrey. This is book 1 in the Seekers series, and it is a funny book. It's an adult book, I will say that. Like, the first sentence is, I think it's literally, let me tell you the problem with university students. They're stupid as fuck. That is the first sentence. And that is the tone of the book throughout it. And it's just an amazing, it's vampire, it's urban fantasy, and think Brooklyn Nine-Nine meets vampires. Really good book. If you haven't already, pick it up. It's just so funny, and yeah, it's just a really good book. I don't know how else to describe it. Next up we have a graphic novel, and this is Nomona. This is a funny book. It's a graphic novel and it is funny. Obviously it gets serious at the end, but it makes me laugh. It's a funny little book. It is a fantasy, and yeah, could also work for LGBTQ plus rep and adventure rep. Adventure rep? It's a book with adventure. So yes, some other things that Nomona would work for. Next up we have Only Mostly Devastated. This is a Grease retelling. It's a gay Grease retelling, and it makes me laugh. It's got some really funny bits in it, and it's just a really good book. I kind of want to reread it. I think May's just going to be a reread for me. There's so many books I want to reread, and I can't because I have too many books. The next book is Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. Becca's probably already said this about 10 different times as to what it fits. But for me, it makes me laugh, and I think this would be a great little laughy read for you. I guess, I don't know if it classes enemies to lovers or not. I'm sure Becca would have gone through with you every single prompt that this would fit. So if you need to find out what else it fits, go see Becca's video, because I'm sure she's explained in 22 different ways what book this fits, like what prompts these fit. And then last but not least, I have Crave by Tracy Wolff. This is the book that I try and push on everyone because it's a really good book. This could be enemies to lovers as well, but generally it makes me laugh. So the actual character Grace is hilarious. I love her as a character, but it's the chapter titles as well. It's like waffles of the way to a girl's everything. There's chapter titles. There's one that's like, what does Harry Styles and Pink have in common? Let's try and find a non-spoilery one. So hell can actually freeze over. Shining armour is so last century. Just, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. If you can't live without me, why aren't you dead yet? I'll get you and your little dog too. I'm not gonna say that one. There's never an hallucinogen around when you need one. So this has obviously got vampires in it. That's not a spoiler. Nothing says I like you like a fang to the throat. So it just, the titles just make me laugh every single time I read them, and there's a running theme throughout the Crave series. So yeah. This would also work for party, for enemies to lovers. I wouldn't say adventure. I would say I wouldn't say Crush is adventure, but oh yes, Crush, there is an adventure in Crush. Covert, there is an adventure, and in Court there is an adventure. So if you've read Crave and you want to read the next books, they all have adventure in. So you could read Crave for enemies to lovers or Laughing, and then you can read Crush as an adventure. So yeah. But yes, enemies to lovers, ball or party, Laughing, no forced proximity. I think that's it. There's only those three that it would work for. But yes, those three. Yeah, three. It's late at night. I need to like focus. So they are my 5 funny books. I tried to get like a nice combination of books. It doesn't matter what genre. If a book makes you laugh, they make you laugh. So this is Future Liv, because Past Liv forgot to put in a prompt. I forgot a prompt to my own readathon. And that prompt is Aurora and Philip, one of my favourite princesses and princes. So I'm going to recommend you some books now for said prompt. So the final prompt, the actual final prompt that I forgot, is Aurora and Prince Philip read a book with forbidden, secret or forbidden love. I still can't remember it. That's really bad. So yes, Aurora and Philip read a book with secret or forbidden love. So I have 5 books. I think one of them's actually a repeat. But I did try and find some books that had some secret or forbidden love in them. So the first book is too far away in my cupboards to reach, and that is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. The City of Bones trilogy, the first 3 books, are the only one that it would really work for. Cassandra Clare would also work the Dark Artifice series, so Lady Midnight, Lord of Shadows and Queen of Air and Darkness would work for this prompt as well, but I don't think any of the others would. I don't think they have any secret or forbidden love. So those two would work for this prompt. Next up we have Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. This forbidden love in the form of Rose and Dimitri. Not only, well, I'm gonna let you read it because it's such a good book, but any of the Vampire Academy books would work for this prompt. So the next book in the VA along for May is Spiritbound. So Spiritbound would work for this as well. Wink wink nudge nudge. Next up we have Shine by Jessica Jung. This is a contemporary about K-pop, and it is a really nice, really easy read, and it's got some forbidden love in there, a little bit of secret relationships. So it's all about all's fair in love and K-pop. Really good book. This is the ARC edition, the other edition's up there. But yes, really good book. Next up we have some secret love in the form of Red, White and Royal Blue. I think I used this for another one. I filmed this like a week ago and I can't remember what I put for the other books, like for the other prompts. So I think I've already mentioned this one, but I want to put it on here again because it's such a good book. I kind of want to reread it this month. Can I reread it? I think I should reread it. I'm going to reread it. Yeah, I'm going to reread it. And then last but not least is a book I don't see very many people talking about, and that is Sweet Evil by Wendy Higgins. This is about fallen angels and Nephilim, and it's about the deadly sins, and it's a really interesting read for me personally. One thing is that it is very religious based, so if you're not into Christianity, it's very heavy in Christianity is all I'm gonna say. I love it. I can take that away and sort of like, this is the world that they live in, but I know some people don't like that in books, so I just wanted to give you a heads up. But this is the Son of Lust, basically. It's just, yes, it is a YA, so there's no spice, but there's almost spice. Almost spice. So there's the prompt. I'm gonna go back to past me now. I'm gonna go hide in a corner. I'm sorry I forgot the prompt. At least I caught it before I posted. Okay, past me, take it away. So they are my recommendations for the Royal Readathon. I hope you liked this. It's a lot longer than I was expecting. It took me a lot longer to film than I was expecting, but it's done now. So that's that. Thank you so much for watching and staying to the end. Like I said, if you have any questions about Royal Readathon, please don't hesitate to contact me or Becca on the Royal Readathon Twitter, and one of us will respond to you. Again, I'll link it down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching till the very end. I'm sure there's lots of rambles in this video because, let's face it, I ramble. But thank you for joining, and I will see you next time. Because there's going to be a next time. I promise. I promise there's going to be a next time. I promise. Okay, there's going to be a next time.